I just wanted to ask you to comment on, one of the principal tactics in defending Israel these days is to accuse everyone who is critical of Israel of being anti-Semitic. And of course, that's ramping up. I mean, clearly you can see it in the publicity. And I wonder if you would comment on that. You've been the target of a lot of that. I often see Mondo Weiss as being mentioned as the anti-Semitic website run by Phil Weiss. I wonder if you could comment on how that's being used as a tool to try to stifle opposition to Israel.
It's one of their main tools of the Israel lobby is to say that the criticisms are fueled by bigotry against Jews. And so the definition of anti-Semitism, which used to be fairly simple, which was hatred of Jews, which can manifest in many different ways, and in speech and violence and discrimination. That definition has now been replaced by a many-barreled definition, and some of the causes of or some of the qualifications are disliking Israel too much. So if you demonize Israel, if you single Israel out for criticism, and if you apply a double standard to Israel than to other places, or if you want to boycott Israel, or you deny the right of Jewish people to self-determination, then you're anti-Semitic. So I think that is key, is that actually that in this is a critical question ultimately, because and it's the Corbyn standard. This was successfully employed in England, the United Kingdom, to crush criticism of Palestine in the Labour Party, and to destroy Jeremy Corbyn to some degree. They destroyed his political future over this question, that he was too sympathetic to Palestinians. And they're going to try to use that same standard in our country. And what I find kind of interesting about it at heart is that these Jewish organizations that are pushing this definition, pro-Israel Jewish organizations, really do believe that to be part of being Jewish now is to be a Zionist. So they have created an identity of Judaism and Zionism. And so therefore it's logical that if you really don't like Zionism, by their understanding of the world, you're anti-Semitic. And I think that fundamental question of equating Judaism with support for Israel is just an enormously dangerous politicization of a religion. It's the worst things that people said about Islam after the 9/11 attack. It's turning a religion into a political credo to support, violent discrimination, violent attacks on other people. And I think that is ultimately going to be the battlefield inside the Jewish community, is this definition of Judaism as Zionism, and definitions of anti-Semitism as criticism of Zionism, that has to be unpacked and has to be taken apart. And it's going to be tumultuous and catastrophic for the Jewish world, but necessary too.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. You and I could go on a lot more.
Yeah, sorry if I went on.
And I hope we have the opportunity to do that sometime face to face.